You are listening to the ForceCom Frontline, bringing you to our soldiers on the front lines of readiness. Hey everyone, welcome to the ForceCom Frontline. I'm Ashley and I'm your host. Joining me today is another member of our team, Dean, and you'll be hearing more from Dean in upcoming episodes. He's usually behind the scenes, but is going to start hosting more. So Dean, thanks for doing some more hosting.
Thanks for letting me on camera this time.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce what we're talking about and who our guests are.
Okay, so this Veterans Day, which is coming up tomorrow, we felt it was important to speak with soldiers and veterans that are overseas and just kind of what they're doing living abroad. So joining us today, we have Staff Sgt. Jonathan Young and Specialist Jeremiah Rodriguez with the 101st Airborne Division, currently serving an MK in Romania. We're not going to try to pronounce MK.
Are you sure you don't want me to?
We can Google it later if you want to figure out how to say it. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right. So without further ado, instead of spending 15 minutes introing each other, I'll just get right into the questions. Okay. So I heard you two have family members that have served. So if you guys want to go ahead and just explain kind of what that was.
Wait, can I interrupt?
No.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Can you guys just tell us who you are?
Oh.
Yes, so I am Specialist Rodriguez. I'm with the 101st Division. What I do is I'm a 25 hotel, which I deal with networking.
What is that? Explain to us.
So networking, I provide, of course, services for the internet.
Networking. Okay.
So I provide services for everybody in this unit.
Okay.
So
I'm Staff Sgt. Jonathan Young. I've been in the Army for going on 12 years now. I started out as a electronics mechanic, and now I'm a radar operator. I'm the platoon sergeant for the radar platoon in Division, and we track munitions that fly through the air.
Oh.
And tell people when to run and hide.
Oh. I like that. Where are you guys from originally?
me originally, I am from New York.
Where in New York?
I grew up from Bronx.
Oh, real New York. I'm not from real New York.
Not the city.
No, I'm upstate, like real upstate.
Yeah.
What about you, Sergeant Young?
I'm from a little town called Johnsville, Ohio, about 45 minutes north of Columbus, up Interstate 71.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Dean. I'll let you get back to it.
I was in a unit in Whitehall, so I know Columbus a little bit. And
758?
No, public affairs. It was a history detachment. So
I did about 5 years with 758 maintenance company down there.
Okay.
For when active duty.
DSCCC or something like that. They had a building there. Yeah.
Yeah, we're right outside the gate of DSCC.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Well.
Crazy.
Sorry to interrupt you.
For what?
I asked a question.
Without further ado. All right, let's get back to it. All right, so I heard you guys have family history that currently served, or not currently served, but history that has served. Can you guys tell us about that?
Yes, so both my mother and father have served with the military. My father serving 20 years, retired as a first sergeant, and my mother stopped doing Army as a specialist due to family, of course, her having a baby, my little brother. So my father is a retired first sergeant. He earned the respect that he deserves, and I follow suit to them.
Was he Army?
100% Army. Big hoorah.
Was there any option for you other than Army?
Yes. My father was big on, do you want to do Army? It's up to you. Do you want to follow my footsteps, or do you want to go to other branches? And I told him I want to follow in your footsteps.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome.
Next.
My military history, or my family's history, goes back a little deeper. My great-grandpa was in the Army Air Corps during World War II. I don't remember his plane name off the top of my head. It was a B-29. He was a right rear gunner. And then my grandpa on my father's side served during the Vietnam-Korea era. I'm not exactly sure. It's not something we really talked about a lot. And then my dad had a short stint in the Air Force, and here I am in the Army.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
obviously probably not Specialist Rodriguez, but, Staff Sergeant Young, were they drafted? Any of them?
I think Grandpa Young was. I'm not, like I said, I'm not 100% sure on his background. I just know he was in the Army.
So growing up, with, your family background, did that influence your desire to serve?
It did a little bit. I mean, I'm in the older generation of the Army where I remember 9/11. I remember where I was, and that's really why I joined, because the patriotic America of 9/12/2001.
Sure. What about you, Specialist Rodriguez? Obviously your father and your mom were in the Army, but was there something more that drove you to serve?
Yes. My father was a big inspiration in my life. And everything that he done, everything I've seen in the Army and everything is what really drove me into going into the Army. My first thought wasn't going in the Army because my dad was very intimate on go to school, get a good looking job, and something me and my father spoke, it just drove me closer and closer to the Army, and just because I gained so much respect for him and how the Army works.
Yeah.
And the stories that he told me, and I wanted those stories so I could tell him.
Oh, cool. So do you plan on being in the Army for a while?
Hopefully. I don't go crazy enough.
Well, a lot of people, civilian-wise too, assume that you can just do 20 and stay, and that's not the case. I mean, the Army has to let you stay at least 20. So people think just do 20 and get out, but there's more to it than just stay. It's a career path you have to choose, and you have to progress through to be able to stay, or they work your way out and move on to the next people.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's not just as cut and dry as do 20 years and get out.
Exactly.
Well, Sergeant Young, you're getting up there. I mean, 12 is doing pretty good. Only 8 left.
Well, sort of. I had 5 years in the reserves, and then 2016 I transitioned to active duty, and that gave me about a year of retirement. So it was like a 1 to 5 for me. So I've got another 12 to 13 years myself.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm in the reserves as well, but a lot of people don't understand the difference between 20 active and 20 reserve, the eligibility when you're able to do it, whether you go AGR later and you activate your time or deployments. But yeah, it's a whole different world for retirements. So his reserve time, it counts for retirement per se, but it doesn't count for his 20 active years to get his pension immediately.
So you basically are starting over when you go active.
Sort of, and that's one of the things that I had to learn about as a specialist. When we come active, the retention and MEPS all have to do it a DD 1506. They literally have to go through and count every day you were on active duty service. So every drill day, every time you were on orders, and they compile that up and they calculate how far back your active duty time actually goes, and that's how your retirement is calculated.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Wow.
For some it is. Where, like with the reserves, you have to do so many mutas and you have to get so many points to be eligible per year. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot easier active, but the transition is hard.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Veterans Day. So, Specialist Rodriguez, you said your mom and your dad both served, but I also heard that you spent a lot of time with your families and you didn't maybe travel with them overseas. Is that true?
Traveling overseas, no, but I did do some traveling. But I have traveled to different states with my father, just because he wanted me near him most of the time.
Can you talk about growing up as an Army kid?
So as an Army kid, I wouldn't say it was amazing. Due to, I guess, my mother and father being divorced, so it's me traveling back and forth between with my mom and then traveling to my dad. So it had some difficulties at times, but I grown to learn that there's a reason why, like, to appreciate my mom doing the things she's doing for me, and then appreciate the things that my father has been doing. Even though my father has done 20 years, it never stopped him from taking care of me.
Sure.
And that's why I grown to learn. And as he teaches me that everything that he's done, there's a reason why, and that has everything he taught me. I use that to build myself up as I grow up to become a better man. So, and same thing for my mother.
So I feel like you might be a little too young to have kids. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have kids?
No, I do not have kids yet.
So
one day I want one.
So I guess my question is, you're now a soldier. You grew up the son of a soldier. What would you say to a kid? What's your advice to Army kids or military kids?
My advice for military kids is focus on the things that your parents do for you, because you will one day grow up to appreciate everything and the time they spent with you.
Yeah.
Even, because a lot of Army kids don't realize the things that they do for us as little kids, as us moving around a lot.
Oh, sure.
But as long as they understand and appreciate the moments that they have with their family, that will never end.
Yeah.
Like that will make you the person who you are, because what you learn, what you have taught, and what they have, your family has taught you, there's a reason why they've done it for you.
Yeah. We have 2 young kids and just went through our first deployment. And I'll tell you, a deployment with kids is a lot harder than a deployment without kids.
I mean, growing up, it was hard when my father was deployed in war a couple of times. And it's always hard knowing that your father might die or might come back. And it's always been hard for me, but I never gave up hope knowing my father will always come back. And that's, my dad always told me, it's like, I never gave up on you. And that's one reason why I came back.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I know you guys mentioned already kind of why you served, but Staff Sergeant Young, you said both grandparents or grandparents on both sides served. Why did you join? And I know you mentioned 9/11, but is it a little deeper than that?
It is a little bit. Like, I was an Eagle Scout, so like serving has always been a thing for me. But it really, 9/11 was the big thing for me. I remember being in elementary and having drives where we collected up non-scented baby wipes and non-scented items to send to Iraq. You know, that's a very distinct memory for me. And now we're over here getting care packages with all of that stuff, and it's a little surreal to be here 20 years later and be on the other end of it.
Yeah.
That's good. I remember doing something like that in grade school as well. I never thought about it until you just brought it up.
Honestly, I'm over here thinking you were in elementary school at 9/11 and I was in high school, and I feel really old.
I was in 3rd grade.
Oh my God.
We're not going to talk about where I was at.
I think I was 10th or 11th grade.
Nowadays, I'm in the minority on that end for people that are serving.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
So, I've got soldiers now that were born in 2002, and it absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah, that is crazy. Now I feel really old. How about you, Dean? You're older than me.
I got a birthday coming up. I'm going to be older soon.
Hey, me too.
Specialist Rodriguez, same question.
I mean, you talked about your dad, and that's why you decided to serve.
Right,
Yeah.
but was there more to it, or
yeah.
was it just a call to the nation kind of thing?
I think it was just more of I wanted to give my dad a gift back in a sense of everything that he's done for me, and it may not be the way that he wanted, but it's the way I want to give it to him. And that was one of the big things was just go ahead and do it, because it was beating on my head multiple times, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it just for him. And that's the thing I was doing, and I'm doing this till this day. And I tell him all the time, I was like, I'm doing it for you. I was like, I'm gonna come back with stories so I can tell you, so we have stories after stories with each other.
Well, and I'm sure it's nice to be able to call him up and be like, hey, I'm going through this. What kind of advice do you have?
Oh yeah, it's perfect because my dad is a great advice giver. Like everything that he tells me with finance and how to do better in the military, how to get up there. I always try to take his advice. My dad always told me, you don't have to take my advice 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You could take someone's advice and make it your own way. And say you did it your own way.
Sure. I'll tell you, my dad he retired from the reserves after 32 years, active guard, reserve, a combo of all of them. But he does not lack the desire to give advice. I don't know if that's an NCO thing or what, but boy, everything you say, he has got a piece of advice for you or a story to tell.
Well, when you go over multiple, like you said, the guard, reserve, active, there's just different perspectives. Someone that's done 30 years on active might not have the same. Maybe they haven't been able to move. Maybe they haven't done this. They don't. It's just a different world for someone in the National Guard or the reserve. So, I mean, when you cross all those different avenues, it's just he's someone good to talk to.
I'll let you have that next conversation.
I don't mind talking to people that have something to talk about.
He'll give you all the stories.
Yeah. All right, let's next question. So we go into the speed round where everything doubles. So you guys both have legacy of service. Everybody seems to have this thing in their head when they join, and everybody has these misconceptions. What is something that when you joined, you thought, wow, that's not what I was expecting at all? Something that really surprised you guys.
Wait, what's that cadence about the meat in the Army? The
coffee's mighty fine.
Coffee's mighty fine.
Who says that?
Have you guys heard that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we heard it many times.
So those are a lot of the misconceptions, the things that people joke about, the hurry up and wait. So what are some of the things that maybe popped up where it was shocking when you first went through it, and now you look back on it after so many years, and you go, no, that's no big deal?
I'll eat the first rep.
My dad telling me basic training is like bad, but when I look back, I'm just like, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, I've been to basic training twice due to COVID. So I got the two blunt of the sticks. The only thing that made it fun for me was the drill sergeants that really understood the position I was at. And even though I got some good smoking out of me, but they knew that they want to get you to the end. They don't want you to give up, and that's the reason why.
Yeah. I feel like basic training's got to be one of those things where you're going through it, you're like, this is the worst thing ever, and then you get through it with it, and you're like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, when I've been hearing a bunch of stories about basic training, I'm like, it's not bad. It's like, I was like, when I first went into, I was like, let me see what they actually mean about all this stuff, and when I experienced it, I was like, it's not that bad. The more I go into it, it's not as bad as people think. It's all mental game.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. What about you, Sergeant Young?
The biggest surprise is the people, you know, you find the ones that truly care, and then you find the ones that are just out for themselves. So for me, the biggest surprise is just finding out where people actually stand. And the Army will show you that through and through every time.
You know, I think another thing with people in the Army is it's such a melting pot of ethnicities and people and where they come from and go on. It's just, I mean, you learn everywhere you go, you meet somebody new and interesting.
Yeah, when I was at Fort Polk, we had a kid. We were riding through Peason Ridge, for those of you who know roundabout where that's at. And one of the kids I was riding with, he was from New York, looked out the back of the truck and was like, "Is that what a cow looks like?" And me being from a corn-fed country town, I had to do a double take and ask him where he was from because, one of my best friends grew up on a dairy farm. So that was a eye opener for me.
I was once asked or told, I didn't know the difference between a dairy cow and a beef cow.
Oh.
We had dairy cows where I grew up.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a difference. I didn't know that. Sorry.
You don't typically
dairy cow turn into beef.
But you don't typically eat the milking cows.
That's fair.
You typically eat the steer.
Do they look the same?
Oh, I don't know. I think one has extra spots or something.
I don't know. But I think they said, "Oh, that's what a dairy cow looks like." I was like, "What do you mean? They look different?" Anyways, that's a little side story.
But if you don't know, you wouldn't know. And I think what's cool about, you said the melting pot earlier. So I was telling you to go on is because if you're in your own hometown and you never leave, this is no knock on anybody out there, but if you work at the same company that everybody worked at and you quit and you go somewhere else, you've seen those people where they kind of bounce around from place to place. You kind of understand who's in the town and what's going on. But in the Army, every couple of years, they say, "Okay, you're now moving to this random place with dairy cows and steers." And you meet all these new people from different parts of the world, some not even from the continental U.S., but different areas, territories that we have as well. And you just meet so many different people. You could meet people from other countries that have come and joined and working to become American citizens. So it's just cool then, and then to be able to go overseas like you guys right now and to experience countries that you can drive to. And that's something I think that I don't want to say we lose in America, but the joke was always in Germany. It's like, well, today I could drive to Greece.
Yeah.
But I could also say I'm in Texas and I could drive 8 hours also and still be in Texas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Where else have you guys been stationed besides Campbell?
Well, for me, Fort Campbell is my first duty station.
I kind of thought so, but I wanted to include you.
But I have seen others duty stations.
Well, sure.
Due to my father.
Were you ever overseas with your dad, like Germany, Europe?
No. I would have to use my own money to go see him.
What about you, Sergeant Young?
I've been to Fort Polk, Louisiana. I was there from 16 to 19. And then did some career development and went to Korea. I got stuck in Korea for 15 months, an extra 3 months thanks to COVID.
Sure.
And then I came to Fort Campbell. That's active duty wise. When I was in the reserves, I'd been to Fort Bragg, Fort McCoy, Camp Custer, Fort Custer, up in Michigan, and then Camp Atterbury. The standard Midwestern rotation for the reserve guys.
So is this both of y'all's first time over in Europe?
Yes. For me.
For me, no.
Oh, okay.
I have traveled before I went to the Army. I have traveled here and there. From, like France and Japan and all that stuff. But this is my first time in Romania.
Yeah. So
that was the next question.
I was stationed in Germany with my husband, and talking about the travel and the things you get to do. But Romania was not one of the places that we got to go to.
Yeah, I was there for COVID lockdown, so I tried to get to Romania to go visit some of my soldiers at the time, but I wasn't able to get there. So, did you guys ever think you'd end up in Romania?
Honestly, no. I
mean, when you joined the army.
I mean,
yeah, I didn't even know Romania was a big thing, to be honest. When I first heard of Romania, I was like, what is that? I was like, I have never heard of Romania. Until I came here, I was like, this is weird. But
I never thought I would be outside of the continental U.S. wearing the 101st patch.
I like that.
Let alone Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
So I was in Iraq with the 10th Mountain, and then, of course, Korea with 2ID. But what deployment were you on?
2009.
Okay. Yeah, I was there 17, 18.
Okay.
With 3rd.
I grew up near Fort Drum.
Yeah, I'm a little older. 2009.
Yeah.
Showing my stripes or whatever you call that, or my rings.
Yeah, 2009. I was getting ready to graduate.
So we're running out of time because obviously stuff is going on around the world and here. So this Veterans Day, especially where you guys are located, what is something that Veterans Day means to you personally?
me personally, it just shows how much respect that one for the draftees and the one that actually decides to join, how much effort they put in just to protect us. Even if they didn't want to, it just shows how much we care as people, how much effort they put in for us, and the time that they spend to do what they need to do for one, for their family, two, for the United States, and three, for the whole world. In all actuality, they didn't have to. And that's all my respect for them, is how much they put just for us. And that's why I want to get back to them.
What about you, Sergeant Young?
It's a little twofold for me. My birthday is the 12th, so out of selfish reasons, I always enjoy.
Do you guys have the same birthday?
No, mine's the 20th.
Sorry.
Scorpio.
I always enjoy the Veterans Day Donza because it's usually my birthday weekend. So on that selfish note, but truthfully, it's an honor to be able to wear the 101st patch. I mean, behind us, you can see the 80 years, right? Mm-hmm. So 101st was forged in Europe. So it's an honor to ride that legacy and live that legacy. And then, to finally to live out, I guess, my dream of making the world better, or making the United States better, because not everybody can be here. So I'm here for that person.
I think that's awesome. And one of the things that stuck out to me earlier is that it seems like you both have a sense of wanting to do something bigger than yourself, and be part of something bigger than just yourself. And I think that's pretty awesome.
You want to take a stab at MK again, trying to pronounce it?
Wait, I wrote it down to try to say it. Mihail Kogalniceanu. No,
not even close.
Not even close.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you taking the time, and everybody that came together to do this, and just want to wish you guys a happy Veterans Day.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, and stay safe. And I guess I can't really say enjoy, but I hope that your time over in Europe treats you well.
Of course. And I thank you for you guys having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for this episode. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can also find full video episodes of our podcast on YouTube. You can just search for the ForceCom Frontline. And we'll see you next time on the Frontline.